Hello my bunnies, it's Ticky's Trinkets here, and today I have for y'all a secret polymer clay tutorial that I've been working on. I hadn't officially revealed on Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube what it was going to be, but what it is a sculpture from a game that's not even out yet. It's called the Showdown Bandit by Beastly Games, I think is what it is. Also by Meatly, the corporation essentially that made Bendy and the Ink Machine. They are working on a new game called the Showdown Bandit, and this is the bandit from the game. And he is like the robber, like Cops and Robber. And as you can see, he is in a marionette, as in he has his own little strings attached. These are not functional strings because, you know, it's clay, it's all stuck in one position, but you can actually lift it up from him, separate from the rest of him, and then set it down like that, or set it back behind him like that. Whatever you would like to do. I just kind of set it on his hat when it's not being used like that, just so it stays in one spot. Also, it looks good right on top of his head since his strings are literally being pulled. And I did like wood, what is it called? Wooden slats for the floor. Just like different levels of wood on the floor, and then like a hole in the stage. Because if you look the game up, the Showdown Bandit, I can't talk. He is the main character, that's who you're playing, and it's kind of like an adventure game, fighting style game. It's from bird's eye point of view, so you're looking down on a character, and it's also supposed to be creepy, and it's all puppets. And fun fact, one of my favorite things is dolls and puppets and things like that, so this was right up my alley. In fact, I don't play a lot of games, but when this comes out on Steam, I'm going to play it because I really like the characters. And I actually added this little rim around the hat halfway through making it, or almost completely through making it, because they're releasing stuff about the game as I'm making it. Because again, the game doesn't come out till August 29th. Not sponsored, but I really like how this game looks. But I like Bandit and the Ink Machine too, so I'm really looking forward to this. And again, this little feature right here is just something fun and kooky and crazy and different. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. I just thought it would be something cute to do. I probably, if I remake him for sale, won't make it with that part, just the sculpture as a whole, without the strings, because the strings just took a lot of time to make sure they were as good as they possibly could be. And I mean, they could be functional, they could be a little bit better, but it's fine. I've been talking for 3 minutes now, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to tell y'all about the Showdown Bandit and how awesome it is. Like I said, I usually keep my intros shorter now, down to a minute, but it's just because I'm gushing on about the game. But let's go ahead and get into this tutorial. I hope you guys very much enjoy this as much as I'm going to when it comes out, and you will be seeing more tutorials from that game because they've already early released some of the characters for the game, so I'm going to be making some of those ahead of time. Alright, enough talking. Let's go ahead and get into this tutorial. See you guys there, my bunnies. Alright, for this tutorial, you're going to need the following colors, except for white. I don't know why I put it in there, but I didn't need it. And that little pack on the top right is just more black that I had left over. To get this wooden cane texture, I'm actually going to link a video in the description box below, because this took a lot of steps to get this to the same kind of like pattern that I wanted it to, so I'll put that in the video below, so you can go watch her video and give somebody else some views here on YouTube. Alright, now we're going to go on to tan color, and we're going to pre-roll all the tan balls that we're going to need, and we're going to start with the largest one in the center. Roll this into an egg-like shape. We're making the head first. This is backwards to how I usually do my tutorials, but just roll with it. I already had the brown that I was using for the cane, so just roll with it. Then put it against the work surface and press the top so it'll be indented, just like this. And this is the front view, but I'm also going to show you a view from the side, right here, just so you can see how it caves in and then comes out. Although he does have more of a round head, so you can kind of keep it more round here if you like, but this is just my personal style. Then using a ball tool, just indent 2 holes for the eye sockets. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my X-Acto blade to cut out the slit on the side of his face and the little mouthpiece that moves. Very carefully remove this mouthpiece because we're going to stick it back in there, so cut it as cleanly and evenly as possible. And voila, now it's back in the mouth. Nice and easy. Next, I'm going to take one of my little nail dotting tools and I'm going to indent the little cheeks that he has up near the top of his mouth. It's just for some reason some of the texture he has on his face. And next, we're going to go ahead and go on to his ears, which we're going to use the two little tiny balls at the very top. You're going to flatten these with the back end of your X-Acto blade and then cut them roughly about 25-75, not quite in half, but keep the bigger pieces of the circles, of the semicircles, and just stick that onto the head. Make sure you line it up with the eye sockets so that it's eye level, just like your ears actually are. Or if you want to go crazy, put it wherever you feel like. Next, we're going to go on to these two balls right here, which are going to roll into very long pointed teardrop shapes. And we're working on the arms right now. Well, the forearms. Then just cut off the excess so that you have about 1 inch long in arms. And then you want the top to be round, so just pinch it and kind of roll the top to make it rounded. Just pinch it and smooth it out with your fingers. It's easier than it sounds. Next, we're going to go on to the other two balls that we had near the front, the smaller balls. Well, you know, next size smaller balls. And you're going to roll this into about 1/2 inch long teardrop shapes, a little more than that. Then just press them till they're a little bit flat on the bottom, but still kind of rounded on the top. Once you get done with that, it should look something like this right here. Then you need to get your X-Acto blade and you need to cut off the pointed tips so that there's no excess hanging off. Voila. And next, take the same X-Acto blade, the same kind of cutting tool, and cut little triangles out for the fingers. He has more than 4 fingers, but I'm lazy and I usually do 3 or 4 fingers. You get what you get. Next, I just posed the one hand into it like he's shooting a gun with his fingers, and the other one I just kept kind of flat. Now we're going to go on to the brown clay, which I have upside down for some reason. And this is just regular, like, chocolate color brown, I think it is, from Sculpting. And I pre-rolled the 3 balls that I'm going to need. Starting with the largest one, roll it into about a 2 inch long teardrop shape. Then you're going to pick it up and press it against your work surface so it's flat on one side but still pointed on the other. Then flop it on its side and cut it about 25-75%. And we're going to keep the little rounded half down there at the bottom. The other pointed piece you can put back in your pack for now. And next, this is what it looks like. And now we're going on to his legs, which are the other 2 balls. Similar to what you did with the arms, roll them into about 2 inch long teardrop shapes. And then again, we're going to cut off the excess, but the tops cut off at a bias so that they're slanted, and the bottoms cut off flat. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto tool and indent lines for the knee creases, but later on you're going to see that I make them look more marionette-like by creating different shapes in the lines, so don't glue the legs yet. Do not glue the legs. Next, we're going on to the plum-colored clay. Jesus, can't talk. And we're going to start with the largest ball, just like we've done before. This is going to be his upper torso. So you're going to slide it onto its side, just like we've done before. And then you're going to cut off the bottom, and you're going to cut off the top. Make sure that it's about the same thickness as the bottom half of him. I did cut off a little bit more than it shows here, just to make him the same shape as his lower half. Sorry, getting a text. And next we're going to go on to his arms, his upper arms, his biceps, I think that's what this is called. We rolled these into 2 inch long teardrop shapes. And then you cut off the round parts at the end and the tops at a bias, and we're going to keep the little triangular nibs there. Go ahead and stick your arms onto it, and I bent my one hand at the wrist just to give it a more puppet-like look, because we want it kind of dangly. Next, I'm going to make his neck, which is not going to be showing because of his bandana, so I used my scrap clay. Always keep your dirty old scrap clay. You never know when you can use it. And then I just rolled it into a teardrop shape and cut out the middle. Voila, now you have a neck. Then just stick it onto the toothpick that I stuck into his body for structure. Perfect. Now go ahead and you can stick the head on and make sure it fits kind of evenly. His neck doesn't look too long like I did with Deku. If you ain't watched that video, go watch it. It's on my channel. But for now, I removed this head. Coffee. Next, we're going to go ahead and go on to the black. And I'm going to go ahead and pre-roll all the different colors all the different sizes that I'll need. And we're going to start with the largest size at the very front. So grab that X-Acto blade again, or your rolling pin, whatever you have, and roll this ball out nice and thin as workably possible. That means thin enough to not fall apart. Then take your long blade and cut it into a square shape. Then, out of the little excess pieces, cut 2 long, thin strips. These are going to be his belt. Again, sorry getting another text. And then I just took that long rectangular piece and just kind of cut the sides at a bias and used that rounded tool to make the bottom more rounded. I can't talk. And then I stuck the jacket onto his torso. Then I got the belt pieces and stuck one on the front and one on the back, and you just cut off the excess on the sides. Voila, perfect. I did it that way because this leg is in the way on the left. That way it doesn't actually have to go through the leg, it just goes around the leg. It's easier, trust me. Next we're going to go on to these 2 small balls, roll them into a little bit longer than 1 inch long in shape, and then pinching it between your thumb and index finger, lifting it upwards to kind of create a foot shape. If you're not sure how to do this, watch any of my old videos. I do go in more into depth in my old videos. I think I'm going to do certain videos in the future about how to just make particular shapes. Then you just cut off the excess and stick it to the body. You can go ahead and glue these onto the legs if you like to, but don't glue the legs on the torso. Next, I just took the only flat surface I had to make this ball smush out. I just took the Yankee Candle lid and smushed the ball so it made this kind of oval shape as nice and neatly as possible for his hat. Use whatever you have on hand. And then I took this other ball of clay and I rolled it into an egg shape. And then I indented the top of the egg so that it makes it kind of look rounded, just like this. And then I stuck it onto the rim of the hat. That's to kind of make the 10-gallon hat look. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place today. Then I took my rounded tool and cut off the sides. Then I took my dotting tool and cut out a hole in the center just by punching it through it on the work surface. Flip it over, punch it through, make it nice and flat and even. Next, we finally go back to the leg joints, which is where I just cut out 2 little rectangular pieces on the top and made 2 little rectangles on the bottom so it connects like puzzle pieces. Now you can go ahead and glue that together. Then I did the same thing with the hands, but instead of it having a little joint, they just kind of stop right where the wrist end. Again, you can go ahead and glue the hands, but the one that's shooting like a gun, I did not glue this until the very end. As you can see, I took it back off, solely because it's very fragile. Then I used my X-Acto blade to make texturing on his pants. Now we're going on to the silver to make the little brackets or staples on his face. Roll this out into a big thin sheet of clay that's nice and easy to work with. You don't actually need a big thin piece, but I just go big in case I mess up. Then make 2 little rectangles, one slightly bigger than the other, and stick it onto the side of his face where his cut is. Voila, now you got staples. Now that I've done with all that for now, I'm going to get my rubbing alcohol and cotton swabs and kind of clean off the tan color clay because it's very dirty at this point. And once I clean it, it looks just like this, nice and pretty. And we're going to clean it more than once in this video. And then I got my X-Acto blade and indented the little wood texture in his face. If you look at a video or a picture of him, you can see that he has wood texture. We'll go in with dark brown later. Next, we're going to go on the orange and pre-roll all the balls you'll need. And we're going to start with this one in the back here, and just use your hand, the center of your hand, to press it against the work surface. So to stay round on the top, but be flat on the bottom. Once you get done with that, it should look something like this. Now you're going to take your X-Acto tool and do vertical lines up and down this little circular shape. Just like this. That gives you the texture of hair for the back of his head. And then just stick this onto his head. Voila! And just kind of like smush it into the sides and the top to make sure it just kind of fits like a good hairline. Next, I just turn him around so you can see how the hairline meets the top of the forehead. It doesn't have to quite go all the way up because the hat kind of covers some of it. But, you know, just pull it up as far as possible. Then I went on ahead and went to the 3 orange balls that were in the very back. I'm all over the place. Rolled them in the teardrop shapes. And then I just pressed them down flat on his head to shape like his bangs. You can look up a reference photo on Google Images to kind of help you do the shapes correctly. Next, we're going to go on to these 2 small balls in the back. These are going to be his eyebrows, so I actually cut one of those balls in half and made it a little bit smaller. They have to be teeny weeny. Then you just shape it into a teardrop shape and bend it, and then cut out 2 triangles at the end of the brows. Then just very gently stick it on his head where the eyebrows need to go. Voila. Be patient with this part. It took a long time to get those eyebrows right, trust me. Next, we're going to go on to his bandana. So you're going to use the larger ball first. Roll it into a teardrop shape, but point it on both ends by rolling it between your fingers, making the center a little bit larger. Then just pinch the center outward and make it into a triangle shape. Easy. Then take one of your little nail dotting tools, one of your rubber tools, and indent different lines to create texture for the bandana. Honestly, this is my favorite part on the whole sculpture, is his bandana. It comes out looking perfect. Then just cut a little circular shape out because he's a little worn and tattered. And again, use reference photos. Then I just went on ahead and stuck it on his body, and it fit perfectly. Just take the two little excess pointed pieces and fold them over each other, like so. Now we're going to go on to the little knot that ties the bandana in the back. So you're just going to take this little ball and just cut off a little bit of the side on it, so it's flat on one side but still round on the other. And then where the part is flat, just stick it in the center of the bandana, and it'll look just like this right here. Perfect. Then go ahead and take that same tool and indent little lines onto the ball itself, again to give it more of a realistic fabric texture. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going on to the bangs and the eyebrows. I used my X-Acto blade and gave those texture. Finally, now, this is where I thought I was, we're going to use cappuccino color Pearl X powder and a very small paintbrush to indent brown powder into the lines of his face and stuff. But don't worry, we're going to take rubbing alcohol and clean off the excess so it won't be all over the place how it is now. Once you clean it off, it'll look just like this. How amazing is that? You could do the same thing with paint after it's baked with a little bit of water in it, but this is definitely a more faint brown color, so I like this a lot better. Next, I moved on to glow in the dark clay. This is going to be his eye, so just roll out two teeny tiny balls of clay. And then using some of that scrap cane brown and tan color from earlier, I just made two little eyelids and stuck them on top of the eyes. And then just very gently put the eyes inside the head. Again, use a reference photo. His eyelids are kind of shut in the game, so that's why I made them that way. Next, I put a metal wire into the head to support the hat, but I actually ended up removing it after baking because it was too heavy, so I had to move the hat a little closer up. Then I used Loctite glue to glue everything down except for the arm. Here comes the fun part now. We're going to use eye pins and wire cutters and cut little eye pins off and stick 4 inside the wooden dowels that hold them, and 2 in the wrist and 2 in the ankles. Next, we're going to do the rim of his hat, which again, as I said in the intro, I didn't know he had this until the new trailer was released, so I'm just adding this here at the end. Just a long skinny piece that I've cut out and wrap it around the hat. Now finally, we're ready to bake. Go ahead and bake him for 350 degrees for 9 minutes in an electric or 12 minutes in a gas oven. After that, after he's fully cooled off and everything, I went on ahead and took the metal wire out of his head. Again, I didn't like how he was a little top heavy. Next, I took this stretchy cord that's 0.8 millimeters in diameter, and I just tied it onto each little eye pin, and I tried to make them all about the same size, and then I tied it onto the top and cut off the excess, and I put glue on the knots so they'll hold better. And I'm not going to show you every one, but go from 1 to 4, and now we're done. Take your time with this, and make sure you try to get the strings as even as possible, and once you're done, you should be able to lift it a little bit. It is not a functional marionette. It's not functional, but it looks cool as heck. Next, I glued on the hat a little further up the head. I know the hat's really big, but it works. He's a cowboy. Next, we're going to go on to all the painting details, which you need yellow, black, red, and orange. And I just used my dotting tools. First, I did the yellow. I dotted on 2 buttons and the belt buckle. Next, and then it looks like this. I don't know why I did it like that. Next, I went on to the black and dotted on 2 pupils for the eyes. Now we're going to move on to the red, and I dotted on the 2 little blushing marks on his cheeks. I'm assuming that's what these are because I have no idea what else it could be. Then I used my black again, which I should have done it when I did the eyes, but it's all out of order, and painted on floorboards onto his base. Waited for all that to dry, then I glued him down to the base with E6000. Wait for that to dry, and then glaze them with 2 coats of polyacrylic floor varnish. Be careful not to get glaze on the strings if you can help it. And then after you've done that, you're finished. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and look forward to the Bowser tutorial coming next week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye, my bunnies!